And we've got the small 0 to 6 months, the medium. All of these are medium and large. Pretty much a 1/4 of an inch seam when I do it. So I'm going to work on the large because they're the most forgiving. The small are quite finicky. But I just literally lay down the pattern on a piece of fleece, and I get all of the leftovers from, or not all of them, but I get the leftovers from the things like what Barbara just did, the hoodies and the trackies. So just put it down, and then I take my Sharpie, and I just, I go very quickly, and I like the thicker the cardboard, the easier that is, and then I would mark the top and the bottom. So that, and then I actually use my rotary cutter, and I'm pretty careful with my fingers, but I go around pretty quickly. And then you cut out, the pieces are all of these pieces here. So you would need, these are 2 cuffs. You need 2 good bottoms that you actually see. And then there's a lining on the inside, 2 of those. And you need 2 of the uppers. And then there's actually another color on the inside, which is 2 of those.
These look fitted to me.
A little bit, but not too bad. And then this is the edging, the decorative edging, which I made my own on these. And this is a strip off of a blanket. And this is, I also use the IKEA ends, which would be like that. So you cut out all your pieces. Then the first thing I do is, this is a cuff. Make sure that you've got the horizontal stretch, because you have to be able to get the baby's foot in like that. If you go the other way, it's unforgiving and you can't, it won't stretch.
You've got to have the stretch going on.
So you have a piece like this, which I iron down. I just eyeball it and iron it down. Then I take my decorative piece, which is the IKEA piece, and I would put this up like that, right along the same seam line, like that. I would clip that there, and then I would sew that. And you get that. I had a piece. Where is it? On the end. No. Anyway, you just sew that. Okay, you've got that like that. Then right sides together, you sew this down here. And that's your long cuff, okay? So that's like this. And then you iron that. Then you're gonna fit then you're gonna take these pieces which you've cut out, like this, on the fold. It's just on the fold. And you're gonna do, there's 2 of these, because that's the lining. I might even mark on it lining. And 2 of these, which is the pretty part you want to see. And I would do a 1/4 inch seam, and I chain stitch, which is just sewing, connecting the next one, connecting the next one, connecting. You call it what?
Sausages.
Sausages. I like that. I just call it chain stitching. Then you clip it. And one thing, I actually don't use my clipper on the machine because it leaves a little tail of about a 1/4 of an inch. But here's the thing, I go right in and I'll clip it, because years ago someone told me, especially with baby booties or baby clothing, you have to be careful of those threads that are, because they can go around a toe or a finger or in a little baby, and it can do a lot of harm. So I've never been able to escape that, so I'm clipping. So we've got that. Then you take, this is the lining, and I might mark it. Oh, I have. This is the good one, and I use the seam exposed, and I put the lining on top. And sometimes I'll use up the fabric that I don't like. I've got some fleece that it's just, I don't like it, it's not very nice, So I use that, and I know that that's my lining. It can get a bit confusing if you don't know which one is which. So I've got that like that, and then I'm going to shove this thing as if it were, I think it's matching. I'm going to shove this up inside like this, and I'm going to match. I've got this all written down, by the way. I'm going to get my seams open, and I'm going to make sure that that's exactly by pushing a pin in and pinning it, and matching, going all the way around like that. So I'm ending up with this. And then what I'm going to do is sew. Sorry, I'm going very fast. So this is what it was. And then I just sew around here. Okay? And then I take my pins out. And you basically have the booty like this. And then I'm going to take, I think I have, do you want to see a little bit of sew? Yeah, I have those. I have it all done in stages, but I took it out of my bag, and then it's, so I've marked it for the purpose of this with, I'm not going to like that blue. I might use a piece I don't actually like. I line up my dots. So then, take that. There we go. I can actually make a pair in a little, maybe 45 minutes or half an hour, or something like that, depending. I got really good at it lately in the past couple of days. So I'm going to line those three up like that, and I'm just going to check to make sure. Bang on. So you get the idea. I'm going to line this up. Do you actually want me to sew it?
I want to see this machine in action.
Is this your machine?
Yeah. I hope it. I've got all the buttons.
Does it make coffee?
That's the thing. I'm looking for it in the instruction manual. Okay. So I don't actually start right on the seam because that's quite a number of layers. That's actually 6 layers, and I've noticed that it was, seam on thread. I'm going to make sure all 3 are lined up, especially the bottom one. Come on, baby.
It's hooked around the...
That's fine, I wanted that. It's just some of the controls went off when in the transport. So I have a bit more space to sew because this is a size large. When you're sewing the small, it's like 2 stitches and then you gotta turn it. I'm just doing 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Using the edge of the foot as my guide. I'm going to try that. Didn't do it. Anyway, I go right in and I go right close and clip just because I'm frightened of...
No, it's a good point there, is that?
I heard that and I can't get over it. So I would throw that in my garbage, but I don't know where it is. So I have a really nice seam on this side, but you'll look and you'll see sometimes you haven't done it on the bottom layer very nicely because it does slip and slide. So I might turn it and go in on the bottom layer and redo it. So this is almost done. Now I'm just going to do the sole. So I got my liner and my good together, and I have to be mindful of which is which. I want that to show on the bottom. I don't want that lining. So I'm being mindful that the upper that I like that is pretty is going to match right sides together. And you're going to do it on that dot. And I'm going to pin. I'm going to pin 4 ways to start. I've got it marked. That's going to go right on the the seam. I'm going to do it. It matches nicely all the way around. Get all 4 lined up beautifully, because they do kind of move a bit, and sometimes you don't, you're a 1/4 of an inch on the top, but you get kind of narrow on that bottom piece. And then I'm going to actually do 4 more, because this is a bit too much for me to go around. And it is important to get all those layers kind of right on top of each other. So I'm going to sew really quickly. I want to make sure that I've got a really nice rounding of the toe, but I'm going to start with the sole up at the back. You can already see that that top one is a bit over, so I'm constantly pulling out that bottom one so I can have a look at it and lining. You can do a lock at the front, but I'll just go over it and lock at the end. So for now I'm following the sole around like I did before. And it automatically sort of makes a nice round on this side, but when I'm done, we're going to check on the other to make sure we've managed to grab all of the layers. I often use this to pat down. That's a great tool for me. So I'm going to come around now, sort of working it. I can figure out that clipping thing. Somebody told me you can adjust the edges. So I'm going to pull out the pins. So you can see that I've got a fairly nice seam this way, and I'm happy with the rounded toe, but I'm going to flip it around and look. Can you see that I'm a little off there? I'm okay, but I'm not very happy with this right here, because this wasn't quite, it looked like it on the other side, but I got to redo that. Just at the front there, and I got to be mindful that this is the toe. So I'm just going to go in a bit and grasp a bit more. And I'm gonna stop because everything else was a nice 1/4 inch. Okay, so that's almost done. I might cut that off because it's the point. So it doesn't bother the baby. And then I'm gonna flip it. And I work it with my thumbs just to push and get a nice rounding. And so you're gonna go, oh no, look, it's all wrong. I've got a seam out, but this is the part that actually turns down onto itself.
This is the magic bit.
And then I'm gonna pull that out. And what I do, I pull down, match that seam along with the bottom, and then match up the seam, and I go in and I will sew it. It won't come up right through, so it just stays
I thought
down.
It was a tie. No, it's not. Yeah, got you.
So that's what I do, but I mean, I suppose if they wanted to wear it up, they could for extra warmth, but then this is also extra warmth because it's double down on its side. So every single layer, I just go in right on top, and I just go lock it like up and down. You don't have to, but
Gives you an idea.
try to match up the seams so that it... How does this go up? Oh, jeez. Oh, didn't even have that down. Okay, so I matched it so that it went right into the seam, right into the seam. So that's a pair done.
And amazingly warm.
They are both. There's no right or no left. In the beginning, I did do a right and a left,
She lady.
but it got too annoying because I was making two rights or two lefts for some reason. And I think there's 2 pins inside. Are there 2 pins inside there? 2 purple pins? Thank you. So I'm just going to tie them together, and the person gets the pins too. So yeah, they're a little finicky, but when you make 2 or 3 in a row,